Advocate Saleh.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum, Honorable members, NDPP, and all on platform. As Al Jamaa, we are disappointed, is a mild word. We are disgusted, embarrassed at what has transpired in this Omotoso case. We duly note the duties of the NPA and structures in place and the work being done under very difficult circumstances. We are aware, none more than those who has worked in the institute of the NPA, of the duties, responsibilities, and work done. The details provided by the NPA, it is clear it is to appease and soften the blow of repercussions due to the failures in the NPA that is currently being exposed. 77% conviction rate in prosecution does not speak to the matters withdrawn in the NPA and the reality of no reporting due to many having lost faith in the justice system and in the NPA. And I know there are entities who despises the fact when we actually raise the fact that justice is failing us and the wheels of justice are currently falling off. And part of the responsibility is because of the NPA. 8 years, Honorable Chair, to complete a matter. We require a complete breakdown on where those failures occurred. And what we will find is that many cases, and there are many delays in the justice system and in the NPA that are failing our people of this country. The Omotoso case exposes the failures in the NPA, but it also exposes the lack of oversight and accountability. The lack of training and ethics and discipline is highlighted of those in prosecution, and we wonder what disciplinary steps will be taken. A serious matter where alarm bells has been raised surrounding the prosecutions in the matter has been blatantly ignored. The NPA today, we query the failure of the CA to put in checks, balances, and accountability. Oversight was seriously lacking in this matter and needs to be responded to. What oversight was placed whilst the investigation of this? Where was the oversight of the seniors, fully knowing that this matter was gathering a lot of media attention and it's actually a very serious matter? Then I would like to know what is the years of relevant experience of the teams of prosecution that was considered and assigned to this particular matter. And the key word here, Honorable Chair, is the word relevant experience. The lack of leading evidence as is highlighted in the judgment, and it is absolutely shocking. It's actually appalling. Had this matter not had media attention, it makes one wonder how many cases are falling through the cracks of the NPA due to the concerns of lack of ethics and the ability of the prosecutors. Why must a matter have media attention before it comes to this particular portfolio? How many victims are we failing? We cannot ignore the trauma of the victims by people that is alleged to be the people's lawyers who has failed them. What systems is being put in place to assist the victims, and how is this victims going to be compensated? We talked about secondary degree trauma. I think that the trauma that has been suffered by these victims are far more. The NPA should be held accountable for their failures. We note that there is senior counsel and senior individuals assigned to these matters, which is another failure on the side of the NPA. These senior individuals had to be appointed at a long time ago at the beginning of this matter to investigate, prosecute without fear and favor or prejudice. It is heartbreaking today that an institution that's supposed to be one of the prides of our nation, because the authority that they hold and the power that they hold is failing the victims of our country and prejudicing the victims of our country. We welcome the investigation being conducted, but demand that this investigation be expedited. We are shocked about the lack of sensitivity on WhatsApp groups, where complainants are placed onto one WhatsApp group. And Honorable Chair, it was mentioned before, but we need to know what was the content and what was the purpose and discussion on these groups, because it will be highly concerning that complainants are discussing the matters in one WhatsApp group, and these same individuals would end up having to testify on these matters, and it can impact on what is being said in court. We note all the efforts being made now by the NPA to rectify their wrongs. And we need to note that while an appeal is primarily concerned with legal questions, it's not entirely based on law, not facts. Appeals can challenge the application of the law, the facts of a case, or the factual findings themselves, if it can be shown that the trial court made errors or misapplied the law. I don't want to go into too much of the merits because we know that that will now be under investigation and it will also be brought before the appeal court. Just makes me wonder, where was all this efforts? And ultimately, once again, these other victims, which is the taxpayers, who is going to ultimately also be impacted by monies having to be paid because of prosecution failure. The accused Omotozo will now be deported and the victims will be denied justice, Honorable Chair. And that is the reality. And the NPA will ultimately have to bear the consciousness of the fact that this person is a threat to society globally. Further, Honorable Chair, I want to place on record and concur with Honorable Paulser, is the failure of the NPA to investigate and prosecute serious crimes and crimes committed against humanity. Not one South African has the right to be fighting in the IDF. But to date, despite cases laid at the NPA has failed to investigate and prosecute the charges against foreign mercenaries. Do we lack the skills in prosecution to investigate and prosecute these type of matters? That is another question. And maybe that is why Advocate Shamila Batoy is probably dodging the bullet on that particular matter. The lack of communication and evading of these matters also speaks to how prosecution is evading matters within our own country. Do we lack the resources? Do we lack the relevant skills and qualifications in the NPA? And also, another factor of concern is the arrogance that has been displayed for a very long time in the National Prosecuting Authority and in the NDPP's office. So, Honorable Chair, one of the things that is very important here is that the investigation be expedited and that we are all answerable to South Africa with regard to not just this matter. This matter is being highlighted, but Honorable Chair, I can promise you there are many of a similar matter that is before courts and not before courts, where the NPA and the NDPP's office is failing South Africa. And I will too duly note that Shamila Batoy needs to be removed from her position. And I thank you, Honorable Chair.
But when the chair has spoken, we don't speak after the chair. Chair, mine is a brief one, under a quick theme of the fish rots from the head. And just a quick summary, Chair. I mean, we're sitting here, as political parties in Parliament, we differ on many things. But on this one, we seem to be all united. Here's an executive summary, very briefly. The NPA has failed in the extradition process of the Guptas. They were using defective warrants and all of that, and the court has ruled on this. This is not me saying this. The NPA has failed in even doing a proper risk assessment on Bushiri to check if he's a flight risk or not. We're sitting now with a fugitive in Malawi. The NPA has failed to conclude on the Makaka case, has failed to conclude on the Meiwa case. I mean, a very glaring thing here, where even some of the people that were at the scene of crime, as we speak today, 10 years later, some of them have still not even appeared before the court. They have bungled up a whole lot of cases there. Kokomachela case, we're still waiting on the AKA case. We're still waiting to hear what Advocate Batoy is going to say about the fake it till you make it a charade that people are doing there. Now she has bungled the Omotoso case. And on Wednesday this week, the MK party on the member statement raised the issue of Advocate Pretorius. This is a person that was leading in the Zondo Commission. The issue for us is that noting that the evidence led in the Zondo Commission, which was a concoction of hearsay and everything else, and which actually does not meet the criminal justice standard for prosecution, Now, all of a sudden, Advocate Pretorius is now going to advise how to turn evidence which is otherwise not prosecute material, which is not within the criminal justice dictates. Somehow he's going to find a way now to advise how that is going to be done, and all of that. So, Chair, I don't want to waste time here. I just want to conclude by saying, for us as the MK party, we want to just put it on record that if by end of this meeting that Advocate Batoy does not voluntarily submit her resignation, we want to confirm in this meeting that as we close this meeting today, we would have approached the appointing authorities to start the process to remove Advocate Batoy. I think enough is enough. Thank you, Chair.